back. So today I'm going to be reviewing a product that I guess is one of my requested products. It's these blurring palettes that have been coming out non-stop. A lot of you have requested me to review the brand Free and the brand AOU is quite popular for their blurring pots, melting pots. So today's video I'm actually going to be reviewing the brand WAKEMAKE. They have their new blurring pots that came out. These are the over blurring pots. There's a total of 8 shades, but I only got 6. I tried to control myself. I went a little bit overboard for choosing the shades. But for Free and Halika, I have 1 or 2 shades from this brand. I'm actually going to be reviewing these and WAKEMAKE, the formula, everything you need to know in a separate video. Today's video is just going to be about WAKEMAKE's over blurring pot because I do have quite a few shades that I got. Also, the reason why I got a lot of shades from this brand is because it does retail for 9,900 won in Korea. I got it on their Naver shopping website, which they also advertise in their Instagram, so it's legit. As you know, Free is quite expensive, so I only got 1 shade. I'm also going to be using Halika silicone brush, which has been trending lately, especially with these blurring or melting pots. I'm going to be doing some comparison swatches as well, lip swatches, and transfer tests as usual. So let's go ahead and get started. You can also use this for your lip, your cheek, and your eye makeup. It's very good to blend, and there's a total of 8 shades, but again, I only got 6 shades. Shades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 8. And number 5, India Rose, is their best shade. For the packaging, it looks a little bit similar to Halika's packaging. You have the WAKEMAKE logo at the front. I do find that it does scratch easily, but you know, keeps the product safe regardless. Once you open it, you have the product inside. Alright, so starting off, this is shade number 1, MUTED BEIGE, and it's described as being a soft beige color. For the gradients, you can barely see the color. As the name says, sort of this beigey color. It does seem to have a little bit of like a pale pink undertone. For my natural beige skin tone, it actually looks a little bit too pale for me, so we're gonna have to see for the full look. However, it does seem to be a good shade to pair with a lip liner. I thought this was going to look a little bit like a vanilla cream, but it's slightly a little bit too light. It does look quite similar to promotional pictures. For the formula right off the bat, I could see that it blurs the wrinkles on my lips, so it gives a very beautiful blurred like finish on the lip. The texture is actually quite soft, velvety, sort of reminds me of Peripera's Ink Airy Velvet. So it kind of feels like a very fluffy cloud on your lips. Very, very moisturizing. Doesn't seem to dry out my lips. The blurring of the lips looks very, very impressive. Beautiful finish. Gives a very beautiful matte cloud-like finish. So now we have the full look. Again, it still has that pale like beige color with a little bit of a baby pink undertone. I think it looks a lot better as a gradient. So for the full look, this is just not a shade color that is flattering for my skin tone. It makes me look really pale and sick, but then again, I think this will look really good with the lip liner, a darker lip liner, to create a very nice gradient look. As a full look like this, it's just not happening for me. Regardless, it is quite a beautiful shade. It looks a little bit similar to the promotion pictures, but I'd say it's a lot lighter. Sort of looks a little bit more pale in person. On the bottle, it looks quite dark, but on the lips, when it transfers, it is quite a light shade, unfortunately. At least for my natural beige skin tone. Probably tells me that the rest of the shades are going to apply a little bit lighter than what you see in the packaging. The packaging looks very beautiful in the packaging, but on the lips it just transfers and looks different. So definitely do keep that in mind. Also, because this is a lighter color, I do find that up close it looks a little bit powdery. Maybe it's excess product, but it's not super bothersome. It's just if you look up super close. For the formula, again, has a very beautiful velvety like texture on the lips. Very, very soft. I'd say it's semi-creamy, but it's definitely more on the velvety side, and it does move a little bit on the lips. You can see from the arm swatch as well. It has a really good blending function, so this definitely blends really well. It's not going to oxidize as much, and the gradient look looks pretty similar to the full look, but again, it is a light shade, so we'll have to see for the other shades. I've seen some reviews that this looks really good as a blush. Whoa, I think I added too much. Alright, so this is without the blush and this is with the color. It gives a very beautiful peachy beige blush like color. So let's go ahead with the transfer test. So you can see it does transfer quite a bit. There's not much of a stain left. It's very moisturizing. Alright, so some comparison swatches. I have Muted Beige at the bottom, Pomoloco, and then Vanilla Cream. You can see the Muted Beige is definitely a lot lighter. Next up, this is number 2, Rose Beige. As the name says, it's described as being a rose beige color. A little bit similar to the previous one, but it's definitely a lot more dark and pigmented. It's not as pale. It does seem to have a little bit more pink in it than beige. A very soft mauve pink color. This definitely looks a lot better than the previous one for my skin tone because it's a little bit more dark and slightly muted as well. Beautiful MLBB nude color. Again, the finish looks amazing. It's very moisturizing, fills in the wrinkles of your lip, gives a very beautiful matte-like finish. It's very easy to blur, so it's really nice to create a blurred-like effect. So overall, not a big difference between the gradient and full look. It does look a little bit similar to the promotional pictures, but I'd say it's less warm. On the edges of the lips, as an undertone, it does seem to have a little bit of like a salmon pink undertone, but looking up close, it is going to look a little bit more like a pink shade. And I'm gonna go ahead with the blush. Right here you have a very beautiful bubblegum pink blush type of color. Here's a comparison swatch with Rose Latte from Etude. Rose Beige is definitely a lot lighter. I'd say it's the gradient version of Rose Latte. Next up, we have shade number 3, Blessing Coral. This is described as being a bright coral color. You see that it's a lot more bright and vibrant than the previous 2 shades. So you sort of have a coral peach shade. I think instead of being like a bright shade, it looks more like a light coral peach color. It did look quite bright when I applied it before I blended it out. So let's see how it looks like for the full look. I think it might be a little bit more buildable. For the gradients, like you sort of have this light, like a pastel coral peach color. My center color is more of a light spring shade. So this is something around my palette. Definitely does brighten up the face, gives a very beautiful brightening effect. When I was applying this, there wasn't really much of a scent. But smelling up close, it actually smells quite good. It's not sweet. I think it has sort of like this perfume floral type of scent. Kind of has a like vanilla-like scent to it, but it's very, very subtle. For the full look, it does seem to have built up a little bit because it is a brighter shade. Now we have a brighter coral peach shade. It does seem to have a little bit of like tangerine orange undertone the more that you apply. It does look quite similar to promotional pictures as well. You can see for the finish, has a very matte finish. There's no reflection of light whatsoever. It depends on if you like it or not. I personally like it. So if you really, really like matte finishes but something moisturizing, I do recommend this. Very beautiful on the cheeks as well. Sort of this orange pink color. Next up, this is shade number 4, Nut Brown. It's described as being a nutty brown red color. This looks a lot better in person. It looks super flattering as a gradient slick. This is also something around my palette as a soft autumn. For the gradient slick, you sort of have more of a pink brown, but I think the more that you apply, it's going to get a little bit more rosy. Very beautiful, very flattering. So now we have the full look. It's a lot more muted and darker than the previous shades. Super, super flattering. I think that it did get a little bit more rosy. Definitely looks more like a rosy pink brown color. I thought it's gonna be really red, but it's very, very subtle. Super flattering, definitely did not disappoint. Kind of giving a baked pecan shade color, so we'll swatch them later. Very beautiful pink brown blush color. A little bit of a rosiness to it as well. There's a comparison swatch with Baked Pecan, which is really, really similar in undertone and shade. Alright, so next up we have shade number 5, India Rose. This is their best shade. It's described as being a neutral pink shade. This kind of reminds me of Cool Pink on top from Etude's Fixing Tint. I like this light baby pink color. Compared to the promotional pictures, it definitely looks a lot more light, sort of this baby pink color. A little bit of a purple undertone. I think it does lean slightly a little bit more cool tone for this shade. Again, the formula is not really buildable, so you still are going to see a similar shade to Gradient's look. And again, it's going to look like a pale pink purple shade. The more layers that I apply, the more it looks a little bit pale on me, so I do prefer the Gradient's look. For the blush, you sort of have this baby pink purple shade. Tracing hand swatch on this side, I actually have Cool Pink on top. India Rose is probably the green version of it. Bottom here, I have Cooling Out from Roman's Blur Fudge Tint, and they're quite similar to each other. Alright, last but not least, this is shade number 8, Berry Plum. It's described as being a deep plum shade, and you have a mauvey purple shade. Super flattering, semi-brightening. Definitely something that's already out there in the market, but for this formula, it looks amazing. So this is a full look. It definitely did deepen a little bit. Definitely still see a mauvey purple shade. The finish looks amazing. It just looks so seamless. Overall gives a really nice brightening effect. It actually does look quite similar to promotional pictures. I kind of went a little bit overboard for the blush, but I wanted you to see the color of it. It's sort of like a fuchsia pink shade for the blush. Last but not least, I have Berry Plum at the bottom and then Mauvish from Roman. Berry Plum does seem to have more plum in it, and Mauvish is a little bit more mute. It's not as bright or vibrant. Alright, so for my intro and outro video, I've added number 1, Muted Beige as my blush, and that's a base for my lip color. And then I put number 4, Nut Brown in the inner corner of my lip. It blends pretty well, gives a very nice gradient look, very good to layer. Most of these did look a little bit too light, so I would have liked it to be slightly a bit more pigmented. There were some that were quite flattering, but most of them were quite light and not as buildable as I would like it to be. And again, as I mentioned earlier, the gradient look and the full look looks quite similar to each other. There's not much of a build up. It doesn't really deepen the shade. The shade doesn't get as dark as it looks on the packaging. However, a little just go a long way. It also fills in the wrinkles of your lips to get this very beautiful cloudy matte finish. It just looks very beautiful and seamless. So definitely a thumbs up for that. Reminds me of Roman's Blur Fudge Tint. It also has a semi-creamy, semi-velvety texture on the lips, and overall it's going to have that very cloud-like marshmallow type of finish, similar to Peripera's Ink Airy Velvet. Overall, it's very moisturizing and easy to blur. Very good to use on the lips as well as the cheeks as well. As a blush, it's also really good to use as eyeshadow as well, or that dewy type of makeup if you're into that. I recommend number 1, Muted Beige as a blush. Just looks so flattering. For my lips, today's choice is number 4, Nut Brown, and number 8, Berry Plum. These two are very beautiful flattering shades for my natural beige skin tone. So with that said, I'm going to be reviewing Fee and Holly blurring pot as well. I'm going to be comparing these. I also do have AOU, the brand that's on its way. So I'm going to be reviewing them in a separate video and comparing the formulas. So definitely do stay tuned for that. That's pretty much all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.